Hello there, in today's video we're going to be looking at how to import a model from Adobe stock, 3D model, and how to set it up in Blender so that it looks like the model that you see on the Adobe website itself. So first of all, let's switch over to the Adobe website and stock website and see if we can find a 3D model that we like. Let's search for robots and we get a few results, some really nice stuff here. Let's go for this one. A bit of a telltale sign, I've already licensed it. So if we click that, we get a preview, a larger preview of the robot. And here's our cheeky chap. So hit the download button. This is what you get basically. So I've saved the zip file and extracted it into, well, I extracted the contents of the zip file here. And you get these files and folders. So the important thing you're looking for is the OBJ file and the textures. So in this example, we've got 6 textures downloaded with this model. They're all at 4K by the look of it, which is cool. The glow map seems to be uniformly blank, so I don't think we'll be using that. And I think the opacity map as well is looking blank, so we don't really need those. We'll just be using these 4 materials today. So let's move that out of the way. Let's switch over to Blender. Using Blender 3.2, let's get this lovely robot into Blender and see how it looks. So by default, you should have under File, Import. Well, obviously that's going to be there, but what you're looking for is the file format that I mentioned earlier on. If we just give ourselves a quick reminder, it's the OBJ file we want to download, import into Blender. So go to File, Import, look for the OBJ extension, which is here. If you don't see this, by the way, you may want to go into Edit, Preferences, and select Add-ons here on the left. Make sure that's not turned on because otherwise you won't see it. And in here, just type in OBJ or Wavefront, and you can see there the import-export add-on is enabled and loaded. So that's what you're looking for. Tick that on and save your preferences here. So having checked that, let's go to Import, OBJ. I've saved it in this folder here. There's the object file and hit Import. Blender will think about it for a second. And that does depend on the complexity of the model. Some models will take considerably longer to load, others not so much. So we've got a robot. Here he is. But he's huge, he's really big. He's like nearly 10 meters tall. Great if you want to make a B-movie style thing where this guy is running amok through a city and crushing buildings and skyscrapers. That'd be quite awesome. But that's not what we want today. Let's just delete the poor default cube and focus on the robot. So let's fix the scale first. So with that selected, press S and just scale it down. Something a bit more sensible. Now you could just zoom in here with your wheel and blah blah blah, or you could just hit the period key on your numeric keyboard or the numpad. So the period key on the numpad will bring that selected object into focus. So with that done, let's just crack on. And before we do, just a couple of minor things to look out for is your rotation and scale values. Now when you add any object into Blender, if I add another cube, and this is 2 meters by 2 meters, you see the rotation values are zeroed out and the scale is 1 across all the axes. So that's what you want for your robot as well. In fact, I'll make that a little bit bigger, why not? So let's go back to this. And you can see here we scaled the robot down, but the scale values are all over the place. So to reset, you want to reset these to 1. And I don't mean by doing this, typing in 1 in here, because you're just putting it back to this 10 meter tall monster. So let's undo that. What you want to do is apply the scale that you've got here. And you can do that by pressing Control and A. And that will bring up this menu. And you can select what you want to apply. And right now we want to apply the scale. So click that. And that is now 1, 1, 1, like our cube was. Next one is the rotation. So this would normally be 0, of course. but now our robot's just killed over and gone to sleep, which is not what we want. So let's put him back upright and press Ctrl A again. And this time we want to apply, yes, you guessed it, the rotation. Yay! There we go. Right. It's the moment you've all been waiting for, guys and girls. What does it look like? Let's have a look. Let's go into rendered mode. Ta-da! Let's turn these off and let's put him into a car park. Or studio light, whatever that was. So our robot is looking a little anemic and quite different to what we actually downloaded, which is this. So we've got some nice reds, yellows and whites there. So how do we get that? Well, you know, what's going wrong? So we've got the material, there it is, robot toy matte material. So let's have a look at what's happening in the shading tab. Again, you can hit the period on your numpad to zoom in on that. And this is looking really bad because we're in Eevee mode here, which is what the material preview tab here, or selection there. Doesn't always work when you import models, so you get this really weird kind of broken look. You can switch to shaded mode and that will always be fine. But rendered mode is obviously the better one. Let's switch that back to a HDRI with some neutral colors. So trying to go for the greyest one there. And we've got our robots on looks like a helipad. How weird. Right. Let's fix these materials. So, how do we bring those materials that we downloaded into Blender? And here are the materials, if you remember. We want these 4. We don't need these 2. But you could just delete them because you've got the zip file. So let's bring them in. Now, you could actually just click, in your file explorer, click and drag that into the shader node editor, which is great. You get the image there. You can then connect that up to the base color. And that will appear, of course, on the robot. That's great, that's brilliant. And we could do the same thing for the other materials as well, such as the normal map. So let's click and drag over here. And we can plug that into the normal. Now, there's many problems with this kind of technique, in that you have to manually remember to change some of these things. So, FYI, normal maps are not sRGB. They need to be set to non-color data. So that's really, really important. And secondly, you can immediately see something's changed in the viewport by doing that, but we're still not there. We also need to add another node to tell Blender this is actually a normal map. And to do that, you need a normal map node. As if by magic, right? And you can plug that, drop that in between these two onto that line, and suddenly this is looking a lot better now. So we can increase the strength. You can see what happens there when we do that. Keep an eye here. You can see there on the arm. I'll put it to 0. That's gone. Put it back up. It's there. So we know that's working. Let's leave it at 1. See how that looks. That looks fine. So as I said, you can drop these in manually that way and set them up yourself. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Especially when you've only got 4 materials. That's quite easy. Another way to do that, let's delete these, is, you know what I'm going to say, guys, you have to have the Node Wrangler enabled. So preferences, add-ons, search for Node, and there's our Node Wrangler add-on enabled. Make sure that's ticked, save preferences, and you're good to go. So the Node Wrangler is awesome. So select your principal BSDF node, and because you've got Node Wrangler enabled, press Ctrl T, and that will add an image texture node, a map in, and texture coordinate node. So, we get 2 extra nodes by doing that, through the Node Wrangler, as opposed to dragging it from a file explorer. And now you can go and select, your materials one by one, and we're back to that stage again. Again, this is all great if you just got 1 material to add and you just want to add that, with effectively one or 2 clicks. But that's not what we want again, because we have 4 materials we want to add to this node. And Node Wrangler can help us there as well. So as we said, or I said, God, that sounded terrible, I'm sorry. If I press Control T, that gives us this, right? Delete that. But if you press Control Shift and T, you have to have this node selected. Press Control Shift and T. The file browser pop-up opens, and we can navigate to our texture map. Select base color, metallic, normal, and the roughness. And any other maps you've got for your model if you need to use them. And click the Principled Texture Setup button. And Node Wrangler, as if by magic, interprets those files, reads the file names, and deciphers what's a normal map, what's a roughness map, a metallic, and a diffuse map. And it also puts them into nice tidy groups that you can obviously move around and do what you want with. So there you have it, an awesomely quick way of just loading many texture maps in one go and getting the result that you want. I have actually experienced some problems with importing texture files like this. I don't think it's Node Wrangler's fault, but it just depends on the material names, I think. If they're not named something really obvious, some of these may go into the wrong slots. So double check that the metallic is actually going into the metallic slot and not into specular or anywhere else. And speaking of specular, the more Sherlock Holmes of you out there would have noticed that the specular is set to 1, and that's not right. That should be 0.5. Sorry, by default 0.5. So that could be a problem. So watch out for things like that, because the import of the OBJ did that to this specular value there. And we don't want that to be 1, we want it to be 0.5. So bear that in mind, keep an eye on that. And that's it really. That's how easy it is to take a model from Adobe and load it into Blender. And to show you how quickly that is, let's create a new, let's go back to a blank file. Let's delete the cube. We'll do that one more time really quickly. So File, download your model, of course. File, Import, Wavefront OBJ, find your model, select the OBJ file, import it. Blender will take a second. Boom, there we go. Select it, scale it, and reset the rotation and the scale values. So Control A, if you remember how to do that, Control A. Reset the rotation, Control A again, reset the scale. You could just hit all transforms or rotation and scale. Would you believe it? They thought of everything, bless them. So that's that done. Hop over to shading, go into shaded mode, rendered mode. Let's get a better HDRI. It doesn't look right, we know that. Here's our principled BSDF with our dodgy specular value. Let's put that to 0.5. Oops, 0.5. And then also the roughness goes for some reason to this weird value. That should also be 0.5 by default. Anyway, I'm rambling. With that node selected, press Control Shift T. Find your model, textures, select the ones you want, and hit the button. Done. Now imagine how quickly you could do that if I wasn't talking. So it literally takes a few minutes to do that. After that, it's up to you if you want to tweak these materials or take them out and do whatever you want really. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. Happy to help you guys out there. If you know another way of doing this actually, then please do let me know. I'm always open to learning something new. And yeah, Blender's awesome. So if you've got some tips to share with me, let me know. Right, thanks for watching everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. Have fun. See you next time. Bye for now.